Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
Louise, I need to get out of here now. Louise, what are you doing?
Everything okay in there?
Yeah, we're all good.
Anything we can get you?
No, we'll just be a minute.
We can't let on. Yeah, we can't look stressed or scared. We just have to go out there and be completely normal.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me as always is Aaron.
Hey, peace in the Middle East.
This week, we're discussing the horror new classic, Speak No Evil, with James McAvoy, Scoot McNairy, Mackenzie Davis, and others.
I keep wanting to say he's Ewan McGregor. I find them both very attractive.
Whenever you say Ewan McGregor, I always start thinking his name is Rory McIlroy, which is not correct. He's a golfer, and I don't even watch golf.
Who's Rory McIlroy?
He's a golfer, and I don't watch golf.
But why
There
do
you
you know
go.
a name of I cannot name any golfer. I cannot name any pro bass fisherman. I mean, to me,
is that the difference? You're pro bass fisherman?
I think that's right on that level. Can't you pro bass fish in the lake by the course? You can do a twofer.
Why not? Sounds good. It's very relaxing
Straight to
afternoon.
the golf court. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Each week in the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist. Aaron, I'm throwing it to you. What's the latest?
It is so effing hot.
Yeah,
I
it is.
have already put up my Halloween decorations, and I wore a sweatshirt to work last week to try to pretend that fall was here. But it is not, as it is hundreds of degrees, and sweat is right here on my forehead.
It's right there.
It's a little damp.
It's a little
And that
damp
is
room.
with the ceiling fan, and somewhere in my house, the AC is roaring.
Somewhere.
Bastards.
No, I've started decorating my classroom as well, but I just kind of decorate it just for fun. When I got a little scratch for my birthday, so I was like, I'm going to put some kind of creepy movie posters in my classroom, but they had to be. It couldn't be anything too violent or upsetting, so it was just
Saw.
it was 100%. It was the whole Saw series
Hostel.
right.
House of a
Human
Thousand
Centipede.
Corpses.
Right.
Human Centipede.
Absolutely. So I went and they're like little tin. They're like the size of like paper. So it's like 8.5 by 11, 9 by 12, something like that. And so they're little mini movie posters. And
I was
they're made
like,
of
are we
tin.
calling that a poster if it is the size of a piece of paper?
Well, it's like a tin sign of these things. So they're
Oh.
small-ish, not enough to draw too much attention, but it's like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I've got Ninja 3 Domination. I've got
Oh,
Life
God.
Force. I've got Alligator. The list goes on and on.
I told you the antique store in my town is a full-size Life Force poster framed. I don't know what they're asking for it. but
It's a
I
good
did
one.
see it.
It's a good one. It's movies, that might not be considered, classics by the modern, intelligentsia, but there's a part of my heart right here.
If I
And
buy
there's
that,
joy.
I want you to frame it professionally and hang it in your dining room.
I will hang it over my bed. How about that?
Your wife might have something to say about
You're right.
it. Just hang it on the ceiling.
What's funny, especially about the Life Force poster, is it has nothing to do with the movie at all. It's like there's the planet Earth and there's a big eyeball staring down at it. And it says something like, in the blink of an eye, the terror begins. The reason why they did that is because otherwise it's just a naked chick. She's just, I'm a naked space vampire with my boobs hanging out. Yeah, that was the other poster that they were toying with. So, needless to say, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Dude,
So.
if I don't go to this concert this week, I'm going to the antique store.
Do it.
I'm digging it up. I'm digging
Handle
it
your
up.
biz. Handle your biz. That's all I can say. Anywho, Speak No Evil. Now, we know this is the remake. Ironically, we saw this movie. Somebody on one of our podcasts recommended Speak No Evil to us.
Right.
And we
all
almost
agreed
watched
it
the
was
wrong
a terrible
one.
name.
Right.
Oh yeah, what was the other movie? The other Speak No Evil, because that looked really interesting.
We started watching it, and they told us it was like a Danish-Dutch movie, the real one. And we started watching this thing, it was like on Tubi or something.
Yeah.
And it was like some demon crawls out of the ground, and we're like,
I was like, oh.
they're speaking perfect English. They sound like they're from Oklahoma or something. I'm like, I'm not sure this is the
Exactly.
right
I'm
movie.
like, this doesn't seem like the Netherlands.
Right. So luckily we double checked and we're like, okay, here's the real one. But we didn't know anything about it
No.
going in. And that was kind of good. So that when we started to see the commercials for the remake, I just kept thinking they're giving too much away. They're telling there's too much information. Like I was telling my kids, Grace was like, I'm tired of seeing that kid go with the scissors over his like, it's like, do we have to spill all the beans? I mean, what the hell? And now I told her that when kids in my class are talking too much, I'm just going to show a GIF of just to let them know. Let them know that's not how we do. That's not how we do.
So should we just talk about this movie and then compare at the end, or you just want to go back and forth through this whole damn thing?
Well, I think we speak very briefly about what it's about. In the original, it was a Dutch and Danish couple who meet on vacation in Italy. One of the couples invites the other to come visit them at their remote house, and shit goes wrong. It's basically the same plot,
Right.
you know. So why don't you hit it? Go for it.
Well, it's the same plot, with the exception of, instead of being like Danish and Dutch, it is a British couple and an American couple living in the UK, and they meet. It almost looks exactly like the same place in Italy for obviously an affluent vacation.
Yeah, even though the homie, like, I lost my job. There's a lot of this movie had a lot more backstory on the American couple rather than the Dutch couple, because it was very much like the Dutch couple seemingly, you know, marriage was fine except for the fact that the husband was just kind of miserable, kind of
he's just dead inside. Right. He was not enjoying life, was not enjoying his family. He was all just kind of like, yeah,
like kind of
almost dead inside,
almost like a midlife crisis kind of thing.
Yes.
Like nothing particular was wrong,
right.
But he was just kind of a miserable sap, essentially.
So in the new version, they apparently didn't like that. There had to be a slew of reasons why he's the defeated dunce that he is.
Correct.
We're going to set up this whole office, but you got laid off, but we decided to stay. And that's not a real thing. You had a work permit temporarily. You got to pack up and go.
Right.
England is tight as ticks. They're not just like, I just decided to stay. And he can't find a freaking job because he's an Eeyore. There's this whole, and that is why they added all this freaking stuff to explain why he's a wimp, which I thought was a little unnecessary, a little too much.
It seemed unnecessary. It was like the wife gave up her career to follow the husband to the UK, where he's promptly laid off. Their daughter has some kind of psychological issues where she's flipping out and can't be away from her dolly or whatever it was.
She's
the
like 12
Hoppy.
years old
Right.
with a freaking stuffed animal. She has all kinds of anxiety disorders.
Correct.
But there was a couple times in this movie I would have popped her.
Absolutely. That'll get you over it.
Dude.
And added a whole
Dude.
nother layer to it. It was the wife had been receiving some like sexting situation.
She's been sexting with one of the daddies at work.
Right. So there was all this shit layered on top of it, which seemed, you're right, it seemed unnecessary and over the top, right?
It was just unnecessary. We could figure out through acting that he is just an unhappy person.
He's
We
just an
don't
unhappy
know
person.
why.
Right. 100%. And so James McAvoy, who is just ripped in this, he's as big as a house, just muscle bound.
Dude, he was perfect. The couple is perfect. And the American dad, he just reminds me of so many people. I swear I know people who look exactly like him.
Correct.
Just kind of, it's like one of those guys whose wife always like talks to you like you're a child. Like they talk to their, I got 2 kids. Those kind of
Right.
that kind of shit. He's like a beat dog. He's
Totally
doesn't have anything.
emasculated.
Totally emasculated, full of his angriness. He needs to join the fight club to feel something. And then falls in love with, I almost called him Ewan McGregor, with James McAvoy.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, when they're together, it's like a first date.
Well, and because that's the thing. And that's kind of true of the original version as well, where it's like the Danish guy, or in this case, James McAvoy, are just very alpha. They're very kind of, they both have beards. They're both beardy and like kind of very
super masculine, with some kind of magical knowledge about you and what's going on. And you know what? It's like they're those gurus for those weird all men retreats where you wear testicles around your neck and you're naked in the forest.
I don't know
that
those
kind
retreats.
Of a shit, dude. I can give you phone numbers.
Is that like Late Night with the Devil? Is that what you said? Those kind of retreats?
Late Night with the Devil, but I believe it is a cult. I'll tell you things offline.
Please don't. Please don't.
I can get you phone numbers. That's all I can say. They'll meet at the Radisson by the airport. But I mean, it's like he's in love. I think even more so than the original. I mean, the way he looks at him and leans forward, they were gonna kiss any minute.
Well, it's that weird incel thing, right? Where it's like you have these guys who kind of represent what they think masculinity is supposed to be. And they know that they're coming up lacking. So they're kind of like looking at, oh yeah, like it's aspirational. I want to be just like you. You live on a farm and you hunt and you do shit. And
I can make a fire by rubbing sticks together. I was a Boy Scout. I picked a berry once. I ate a duck. I mean, it was like,
I picked a berry once.
And of course, he's got the crazy oversexed wife. So they just can't, after 17 years, they cannot keep their hands off each other.
Well, I mean, so much so where they didn't do, like, I keep going back. The original, they go out to dinner and the couple are like kind of making out, essentially.
Right.
And the other couple's like, oh, kind of uncomfortable. This movie, it's literally like she goes under the table as if she's giving him a Hummer.
Dude,
it was
I would have been flipping that table going, what the F is going on? I don't care how much I had to drink. The American couple is so just go with the flow.
Well, there was
ridiculous.
Look, you could definitely make like a
they don't
want
to be rude. I mean, the wife is ready to be rude from go because she sees the reality.
You could make a montage of just the husband's uncomfortable look, like what? There's a lot of like, it was. I'm not gonna say anything, but I'm just gonna like, why are you kissing my wife's neck? I'm not gonna say anything about it. I'm just gonna make an uncomfortable face.
You kissing
That's-
my neck, I'm pushing you off, Frico.
Well, At least by then they knew some shit had gone wrong at that point. So a weird face, maybe that's acceptable of that. But you're right. It's like we don't know these people that well. So if they're doing this thing is bizarre. It's bizarre. And we don't need a huge reason to bounce, right? A little reason. You know what? We're just not a good match. I think we're gonna head back to the city. I think we're out of here. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to
No.
wait for a horror show before you leave.
Hey, when they left the first time,
Correct.
when it was just little weirdness, they should have just kept driving. So they go out, they're drinking, and in the middle of the night, mom wakes up, went to go check on her daughter, and the kids are not in their bed.
Right.
They go into the master bedroom because she's looked all over, and now her daughter is in bed with them.
Right. Both kids are in bed with the parents in their underwear.
And this time, James McAvoy had his underwear
chonies.
on, but in the original, he's just laying there naked.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it added the triple creeper effect, and they didn't have the boy in there with them in the original. I think it was just the girl.
Well, what was interesting, in retrospect, and we're going to keep doing this, the original movie was very much kind of we're going to push it. We're going to be really strange to you to see how strange you'll let us be.
Right.
Like, this is all part of their thing, right? We're going to be
all
really
the
strange.
testing.
We're pushing the boundaries. And then when you call us on it, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I totally, or we'll gaslight you. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry our beds aren't big enough. That, all sorts of stuff.
Shame you, whatever it takes.
Right. But in the original movie, the third act, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because the movies are basically the same until that third act.
Right.
When they go in two wildly different directions.
Completely.
And you could have
One,
predicted it.
An absolute European version. Two, a clearly American version.
Correct. The Hollywood ending.
The Hollywood ending.
Right. Where, I mean, let's just get to it. I mean, in the original version, it's literally like they try to sneak away again, and they get the bad guys find them.
Right. The car
Essentially.
breaks down. The
Car breaks down. So the bad guys find them, but they get in the car with the bad guy, with the bearded guy, and he's driving them somewhere. And they're too weak or too polite to kind of be like, hey, what's going on? Where are you taking us? Kind of thing. They just go along with it. When it's revealed what's going down, the husband tries to resist. He gets whacked once or twice, and then that's it. He's a whip dog.
Puts up 0 fight.
100%.
And then they take the daughter.
They take the daughter. Again, the bad guys there's no guns. There's no guns of any kind. It's just basically like, we've established you are weak, and we can do this right in front of you, and you won't be able to stop us. Is
Correct.
basically what it is. So they take the daughter, snip her tongue out right in front of them, whisk the daughter away, and then drive them to like a quarry and stone them to death.
They literally put up no fight and just stand there.
And just take it
and
until
just
they're dead.
take it. Because
Right.
I guess at that point, they've completely given up,
Right.
and there's no point.
The husband gave up quick. He got a couple whacks. The wife gave up after they'd taken the daughter away. And that was it. Now there's no more fight in either one of them. And that was it. And that's how the movie ends.
Yeah,
The bad guys succeed. The bad guys win. It's just another, because that's the reveal. The reveal is they do this over and over again. Basically, they meet these couples who are unhappy. They kind of seduce them. They kind of mess with them. They break them down. They steal their child.
Everything. Yeah, it's
And then
and their
they steal
child
it.
and everything else.
And everything else. And everything that they have. And like they said in Unforgiven. And everything they're going to have. Is what it is. Boom.
And they're not working alone.
Right. There was the guy who was the babysitter was also in on it. That was
Right.
the reveal.
In the new one, the chef at the restaurant is in on it.
Correct. I don't know why they made the change. And the other thing is that the language barrier was different because they spoke English. The entire movie's in English because that was their common language. But if they
Right.
wanted to, they could talk to each other in Danish, and the other couple couldn't follow along. Whereas in this one, they all speak English, so there's no question of that. Now, how does it change? Before we get to the end of the version, the new version, it seemed to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the kids played a much larger role in this one than in the other one.
Correct. In the original one, the wife is the one who figures it out. In this one, the boy actually, the tongueless boy who's writing something in German or something. He speaks German, so that's why he never.
Is that what that was? I thought it was just gibberish that he'd been there for so long. Was it German?
It didn't seem like it was that long because the picture of him with his parents was not a big age difference.
No, you're right.
I think it was jacked up German, but I could be wrong. But anyway, yeah, he comes and shows her all the stuff. The kids are the ones that figure it out. They take pictures with their cell phones and show the parents.
Right. They say you're right. It's the little boy. Whereas in the other one, they were basically just objects to a certain degree. Like here's a little boy with no tongue. Later, he's floating in the pool dead.
Right.
Basically, that's his whole thing. And the daughter is just kind of like it's our precious child, but not really a character. Right? I mean, that's how I read it. Now,
right. It was about the adults, which is still really about the adults. I don't know why they gave the kids a bigger role. I don't know.
So how does the new version differ than the original?
So the new version, now you got all this action and adventure and chase, and now you've got Ewan McGregor, you got James McAvoy, you got Mrs. McAvoy, you got the weird babysitter, and you got the restaurant guy, all armed for bear with guns. And they're trying to escape, but they're back in the house. You know, people are falling out windows. Basically, the gun saves the day, and it has a fucking happy ending.
Right. It's basically
not
like
only do they escape with like a twisted ankle, they also save the boy.
They save the boy. Right. Yes, they're about to leave, and this is the thing. They kind of made a comment. McAvoy's like, it's not really about the hunting. Not really about killing the animal. It's about the thrill of the hunt.
It's a thrill of the hunt.
Because the reality is, if they have guns, the moment they arrive, they could just set upon them with their guns and do what they're going to do. Right? Steal all their shit.
Poison them at dinner. Poison them at dinner.
Just, I mean, the moment guns are brought in, it's a totally different dynamic. It's a totally different dynamic. I thought it was much more powerful in the original, where it's like, we figured you out. The whole purpose of this week is to figure you out, to push your buttons, to figure out how far we can go, and then take everything from you, and you can't stop us. Without guns. With just
how little we have to do before you just give up.
Right. Absolutely. And that was the creepy part of it. That was the upsetting part of it all.
You're like, dude, do something. And he's like, he hit me and it hurt.
What? Because they do have that kind of primal scream thing. That was in both the movies, where it's like he senses that, hey, man, there's something in here that's wrong, right? You got to take care of this. And they do the. And I read somewhere, I'm sure I probably mentioned it in the original one, that was actually like a therapy technique in the 70s. Yeah. Primal scream therapy, where you just go and scream or shout or yell to try to like some kind of cathartic release.
Yeah. Seems like it'd be fun to do. I don't know if it's curing your long-term trauma or whatever.
Right.
But it seems like I would like to scream without the police being notified.
You'd think, but it also kind of establishes we can go out here and just scream, and ain't nobody gonna hear us.
Dude.
You're screwed.
One thing I didn't like in the new one is they have the husband reach some point where he stops being a pussy and acknowledges that he's being weak, and now I'm gonna be a good man now. And then all of a sudden, like, I
Right.
don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden he's like the super dad. I
Right.
thought that was so stupid.
Well,
I
she
was
look.
like,
She saves the day. Let's be honest.
no
She's the
matter
one.
what cathartic thing he went through, she was still the one kicking ass and taking names.
Absolutely, because you're right. When they barricade themselves in the house, or again, there's no house barricading in the original version. When they barricade themselves in the house, he immediately is falling to pieces.
Yeah.
He immediately is falling.
Shut the hell up!
Right. You wanted her to smack him a couple times.
Oh, God.
Because it is. It's like they're coming in through the windows. They're coming in through the door. It was like a home invasion. It was a home invasion thing now. And she was the one who snuck the X-Acto straight razor or whatever it was in her boot or whatever and slashes James McAvoy and kind of facilitates. Now, one thing that was new was the fact that they kind of suggest that James McAvoy's wife was one of his victims from way back when.
And it's possible, but in my mind, she ain't coming back from that. She may be saying anything at that point,
right,
to be with him, because she could have gotten away. So I even if it's true, wouldn't trust her.
Well, she said, "Don't leave me with him. You don't know what it is. I was one of his victims." Blah blah blah. And earlier in the movie,
and I didn't like that.
No, it was new. It was new because they were both equal partners in the original movie, and this one kind of suggests that they weren't. That she was the victim, because earlier in the movie, they're like, "Oh, we've been together for 17 years or whatever it was," and they're like, 17 years? Because I guess how old?
How old do you think you are? Yeah.
That was the thing. They were like, she seems kind of young for having been together for 17 years. I mean, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
And she still had her tongue. So, I mean, that's well, something.
And then they threw out a whammy at the end that, like, their daughter was going to be the replacement.
Right. I guess.
Well, give me a break.
She's going to have to take care of me. One scene, I turned to Becky.
The first time she kicks the back of your seat while you're driving, causing you to almost crash your car, trust me, you're looking for a new wife.
They almost got into a head-on collision at that moment, because he turns around to give her the biz, and of course they're driving on the wrong side of the road where there's like a cement truck coming their way.
Dude, at that point, your rabbit can burn in hell. You're going to sit in the back and have a flip out. And if you kick my seat again, I'll leave you with the murderers, because I'm getting the out of here. And can we talk? They're in a Tesla, and they drove literally for hours, like all day in a deep, dark forest. And I didn't see a charging station at that house.
That is true.
Can someone explain that to me?
Yes, there was no charging of it. Well, and that was the other thing. James McAvoy kind of kept making comments like, "Oh, you think you're so, with your electric car and your free range tuna," or whatever it was. You think
Blind pot tuna.
Or something like that. It was like, "You think you're making a difference, blah, blah, you're hypocrites." Da, da, da. Like there was like some kind of social message.
Yeah, it's supposed to be this big social message about what? We kill the rich. That was very prominent for a while, but
right. Who knows? One scene.
Yeah, it's bullshit. But I'm like, if you want to pretend you're a vegetarian and eat fish, whatever. What the do I care?
There's a thing I keep seeing on the internet where somebody goes like, "Actually, electric cars are worse for the environment than gas cars." Because of all the cobalt in the batteries or blah, 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 whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
Whatever we're trying to do is as bad as the thing that's already destroyed.
Right. You might as well give up. You might as well just burn coal.
You might as well just throw the rocks at me now and just give up. Just lay in the quarry.
The scene, I've said this a few times, the scene that Becky and I turned to each other and laughed is when she goes into like whatever it is, like the cupboard, and finds, what was it, Drano, where it was like 91% sulfuric acid. I'm like, really? 91% sulfuric acid.
That'll take care of that hair clog and the plastic in the pipings.
Absolutely.
Drano uses lye, not sulfuric acid.
This is the
Am I
British
crazy?
version. It's
Okay.
91% sulfuric. So there you go.
In a plastic bottle. Right on.
Like, how could you even use it? Like, it's like, ah, what are you doing? Well, there's a clog in the drain, and now I'm horribly disfigured.
That's right. I've poisoned the pond out back.
The whole house is burning to the ground because of this. Oh, sweet Jesus. Any other thoughts and feelings about Speak No Evil 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I enjoyed it. At one
did
point, I
too.
started to feel like it was getting a little long. I prefer the original.
I did too.
I just, you know what? This is like Promising Young Woman, where they slap on a Hollywood goody good. Everybody's fine. Only the bad guys die. I
Right.
mean, give me a fucking break. And again, they tried to get over the thing about how the wife was right in the first one. And they have the father apologize to her in this one, going, I should have listened to you. You were right all along.
Right.
It was all like they were trying to fix a problem when there wasn't a problem. But
Yeah.
that saying, it's still good. It's still good.
It's good.
Even with the ending, I think the other ending's better, but I think it's solid.
Well, you know what it is. It's like, if stereotypically, if you are from one of these other countries, if you're from Europe, you've been through some shit. You know, there's been World War II. There's been boots on
These
the ground.
people were not alive in World War
But
II.
you know what? I don't mean that. I just mean kind of culturally.
Yes.
Culturally, you're okay with the concept of not a happy ending. Not all our stories have to have a happy ending.
Right.
Whereas culturally, as Americans, we feel like, well, only good things happen. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe it's kind of a white privilege kind of thing. If we want to get deep into it, where it's just like, if you give us a non-Hollywood ending, we react very negatively to it as a culture. What do you think of that?
This reminds me of something. I saw something about fairy tales. I think I was listening to like a podcast, and they were talking about fairy tales and how they changed over time.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be random stuff happened, and sometimes if you're good, you were hurt, and if you were bad, things went on well. Then there was this turning point where good things happen to good people and bad things always happen to bad people. So
Right.
then you're left with this thing, well, I've been good, why are bad things happening to me?
Right. Well, what was it? Grimm's fairy tales were meant to
Right.
teach lessons. Like, listen to your folks, or you'll end up in the witch's pot or something like that. Like, don't talk back, or.
But previous to that, what I'm saying is,
Right.
it wasn't.
Shit
it wasn't
happens.
this. Shit happens.
Right.
It was shit happens. You could be the best little girl in the world, but guess what? A troll stole you and killed your family. Ha ha!
Right. Absolutely. You're right. It at some point it changed, and that's kind of the feeling. And I think
And that's what I get from this. Oh, we can't have that. Good things happen to good people. So we got to save them, and let's get the little tongueless boy and bring him along too.
and we found his tongue in the kitchen, so we can bring that back.
Because he'll be fine. He can go to school with with the little girl from the cabin at the end of the woods, and there's no trauma. It'll all be great.
100%. And that's the thing. It's like, I think American novels will still sometimes flirt with the sad ending, the upsetting ending. But oftentimes, I think the Hollywood culture, where it's like, no, we can't have any negative. It's always got to be. And it's the cliche of the Hollywood ending. The Hollywood ending, happily ever after. We have to have that. So, because it's like, it's an entirely, the last 3/4, it becomes kind of a almost revenge fantasy on some level. And at the end of the day, I tweaked my ankle, but otherwise we're fine.
I jumped off the roof.
Yes.
And I got a little ouchie on my ankle.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, they try to make it into this thing, like when the wife gave some bullshit story about when they're trying to leave for the last time, about we're leaving because we're not getting along. When we get back, we're gonna separate. But oh, finally you've been honest. Like somehow this whole time they've been pretentious and dishonest and not real.
Right.
And now you're finally being real. Well, the other couple are not real.
Right.
So what?
Right.
What?
And I guess we're just gonna f- with you no matter what. We know we're not letting you leave.
Right.
So right, they could have just pulled out the guns right then and said, "No, you're not going anywhere."
Who puts the crazy guy in charge of all these things? Well, I mean, even at one point, a dude says to James McAvoy, "You're like my cat. You like playing with your food."
Right, he does say that. The chef at the crazy little bed. I appreciate that he's a trained chef and a crazy child catcher. But yeah, it was all just a bizarre twist, kind of an unnecessary bizarre twist, because that's the thing. They are driving
They're like,
away.
"Where's the action? We need more action."
Right. So as they're leaving, they're about to go through the gate. He tosses the little tongueless boy in the creek. And that was evidently the last test. If you stopped and tried to save the little boy, then clearly you didn't care enough about your family.
Yeah.
You should have just let that boy drown. Like, that's a test.
Dude, I'm winding that right back up. They could have been free and motherfucking clear. I would not. Once that my child kicked the back of my fucking seat because I wouldn't go back to the madhouse to get her thing.
Correct.
I'm telling you, I would have gunned it and driven faster, farther away. And I'm like, "You're going to go to a fucking boarding school. And I'm going to give you the back of my motherfucking hand. You kick my seat again, I'm coming over and kicking you."
I thought you were going to pull up on the creek and throw your child in there too.
That's the next step. Pig, we can start over again.
like Ophelia. Exactly. Oh, sweet Jesus. Good stuff. Anything else? Or should we go behind the scenes?
Let's go, bro.
Let's take a look, shall we? Behind the scenes. James McAvoy stated that he purposely didn't watch the original Danish Speak No Evil from 2022 before he started working on this remake, so it wouldn't influence the interpretation of his role.
He's exactly like the guy.
Right?
He's exactly like it.
He says he watched it within 24 hours after filming was concluded and was very impressed. So there you go. Filmed mainly in Gloucester, UK, with 1 week of filming in Croatia. So there you go.
Oh, so it wasn't it? They weren't really in Italy. They went to the cheaper. They went to Croatia for the Italy scenes.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Beautiful though. Whatever it is. Like we said, a remake of a 2022 Danish-Dutch film of the same name. Let's see. Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy previously worked together on the series *Halt and Catch Fire*. So the married American couple were also on that other series.
Never saw it.
Director James Watkins is known in the horror genre for writing and directing *Eden Lake* in 2008 and *The Woman in Black* in 2012.
No, I thought *The Woman in Black* was terrible. So how about that?
How about this story was inspired by the experience of Christian Taftrup, the original director of Speak No Evil, who had befriended a Dutch couple while on holiday in Tuscany with his wife. And although the Dutch were a bit socially awkward, both couples got on very well. And after returning home, Taftrup received an invitation from the Dutch family to come over to the Netherlands. They briefly considered it, but decided it would feel odd staying with people they didn't really know. So
How about that? Yeah.
He said the Dutch couple did not give them any bad vibes, however.
No. Well, I mean, it clearly didn't give the husband bad vibes. It was very becoming like almost a homoerotic situation.
Oh,
I think there was some implication, like in the second one, during their man time in the forest. I don't know.
That's true. The note that Ant writes to Agnes is in Danish, indicating that his murdered family of origin was from Denmark. Let's see. The words on the note translate roughly to, "Please help me escape. This place is unsafe." So there you go. You were right. I thought it was just gibberish. This is just some gibberish. In a 2024 interview with Empire magazine, James McAvoy, who plays Patty, says he modeled the toxic masculinity of his character in Speak No Evil after Andrew Tate, the far-right social media personality and influencer whose philosophy has widely been condemned as misogynistic. So there you go. If you heard about him, he lives like in Turkey or something and always brags about cars and loves slaves and things. It's not great.
So fucking ridiculous. Remember they used to have that show called was it
the Pickup Artist?
The Pickup Artist.
Yeah,
yes.
I remember it with Mystery was the guy's name.
God. The mystery was how he was tapping anything. That was the mystery.
No, it was basically like they called it peacocking, where you'd wear something to draw attention to yourself when you go to the club. No, it was sad because it was like a bunch of incels who were desperately couldn't make themselves attractive to the opposite sex on their own. Very upsetting. Let's look at Rotten Tomatoes, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Currently, Speak No Evil 2024 is at 83%.
Oh, it's gone up since this weekend. When before I went, it was only like 70 something.
83. And do you know what the audience gave it?
78.
85.
Ooh.
There you go. Top critics. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times says, Speak No Evil eventually goes full on with the familiar horror movie blood spattering.
That's the problem.
But the social satire and that well-executed buildup is the real strength of the film. 3 out of 4.
Wow.
So, don't disagree. Let's see. Peter Travers, ABC News. The English language horror remake can't touch the 2022 Danish original, but it gets its scarefest licks thanks to a smiling devil of a lead performance from James McAvoy that will creep you out big time and fry you never to a frazzle. I don't know what that means, but it can't be good. No, he is great. James McAvoy carries this. No question.
Oh, yeah. He is just on fire. So much. Clearly, he was on cocaine or something. Because he was talking a mile a minute. He is just full energy, running around. Just doesn't let you breathe the whole time.
Absolutely. And our favorite critic, Rex Reed,
Yay!
from The Observer, says James Watkins' remake of See No Evil services the original well, thanks to a total galvanizing centerpiece performance by James McAvoy. 3 out of 4. Boom.
Yeah.
What is your rating, Aaron? What do you got?
I would like 3. I wish I could remember what I gave the original.
Right, that's the question.
I don't want this to be higher than the original, but I'm going to say 3.75 slices of McAvoy between some delicious bread.
We probably gave the original like 2.5 or something, but now we're talking about it like it's Citizen Kane. No, I kind of agree. I would say 3.75. 3.75. It's good. I would say go see it.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting to kind of compare the two films and kind of the different sensibilities that each film kind of presents.
Ask yourself, do you prefer the more of American with it's I'm gonna call I think the running around the house is equivalent to a car chase. So if you need a car chase in your movie to be satisfied, then you see the current one.
I agree. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Or see them both.
See them both.
They're both good.
They're both well done. Like we said, McAvoy.
The Danish one's in English, so that shouldn't freak you out. It's all in English, so don't be scared.
Well, some would argue, why remake it if it's already in English?
Well, I've often said that about many things.
Absolutely.
Willy Wonka, for example.
Also in English.
Also in English. Also in Gene Wilder. Didn't need to be remade.
I agree. 1,000%. So, any last thoughts on Speak No Evil before I wrap it up?
Just our usual complaint. The title has nothing to do with anything.
Well, because they cut the kid's tongue out, so he couldn't
So the kid
reveal.
wouldn't speak evil?
So the kid wouldn't tell people what was going on. That's the idea, I guess. Although this one, at least he had him write a note in Danish, where the other one was just like kind of shrugging. I don't know. Anywho, good times had by all. You can find us across the social media landscape. We're on TikTok, Instagram, X, all the rest. Blue, I was gonna say Blue Shield. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Threads, Facebook. You can also watch us on YouTube, even though I'm very dark
Ooh.
right now. So who's
That's
to say?
right.
Maybe
Kevin's paranormal activity right
it is
now.
absolutely paranormal activity. So you can also email us the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review, won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I am on the Instagram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I am on Artsy and First Dibs. Aaron Doherty. Buy something. Thank you.
Indeed. Do yourself a favor. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
As we like to do, we like to include questions and comments from the interwebs. Aaron, I'm throwing it to you with absolutely no prep. What you got?
Well, Granny Fanny Nesselrode wrote to me to let me know that we really need to do Stigmata because clearly it's iconic. And I don't disagree.
I'm used to the messages going, Aaron, you're the true genius of the podcast. Why are you towing that anchor Kevin around?
He's like an albatross around your neck.
It's a sad, sad situation. Next week, we're doing the horror Western. Aaron doesn't even know what we're doing. It's Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk.
With Kurt Russell and Matthew Fox and what's his name? The dude from the Conjuring. What's the Patrick Wilson.
I'm only watching it because Mr. Goldie Hawn is in it. He's the best.
He is the best. It's an all-star cast. And you can watch Bone Tomahawk on Netflix. Boom. It's also on Hulu.
I don't have to watch it on Freevee.
You can. It's on Roku with ads. It's on Hoopla. It's on Pluto TV. It's all sorts of places. So send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, questions, and comments, and we may talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well.
Be well, my friends.